It all started back in September 2016 when Apple announced the OG AirPods. Since then, both the stem style design and the AirPods name became iconic, and arguably 8-9 years later, Apple still makes some of the best earbuds. Or do they? This video revolves around answering that question by testing and comparing 7 of the best stem style earbuds that are available on the market today, including of course the latest and greatest from Apple themselves. So let's get stuck in. Hi, my name is Andy and you're watching Andy's Tech Tone. Stems are the topic of today, but before we dive into the details, I have a confession to make. I've never tested the non-pro version of the AirPods before, even though I've been reviewing earbuds for 4 years at this point. I've had my fears regarding their fit, which as you will see were not without merit, but let's not jump that far ahead yet. Instead, let's see the actual earbuds I managed to get my hands on for this test. So I've got the Apple AirPods 4, and that's the one with active noise cancellation. Then of course there are the 2nd gen AirPods Pros, which I've been using for quite a while now. A much more recent addition to my rotation is the beyerdynamic AMIRON 100, but you are probably more familiar with the Earfun Air Pro 4, which was already featured in some of my videos, including the 2024 edition of my best earbuds under $100 comparison, which it won by the way. Another recent purchase of mine due to popular demand is the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, and I also have the Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro and the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro. The price range covered here is wider than what I usually do in my comparisons, because the most important criteria for any earbud to make the cut was having a stem style design and not their price. So we have the Earfuns for $90 as the most affordable option, and at the top end there are the AirPods Pros for around $250 as of making this video. If you want more up-to-date info on pricing and availability, then check out the affiliate links in the description below. Okay, with that out of the way, now we can start the actual testing, so let's see the design and the fit of the earbuds. The overall build quality is great across the board, you get pretty much what you pay for with each of the buds, but there are no major flaws or any issues I ran into. I have some personal gripes with the flashy looking Soundcores or the cheap looking Samsungs, and if I could do it again, I would order the OnePlus Buds in the Midnight Opus colorway, as the lunar radiance is more sandy and golden looking than it looks on the photos on the official OnePlus website. But these are just matters of personal taste, and again, all 7 earbuds are well built with good quality plastics used all across the board. As you can see, the AirPods 4 Pro weighs in at 4.3 grams, while the Liberty 4 Pro is 5.5 grams, with the rest being very similar to one another in terms of their weight. As far as their IP ratings, here is a quick list. I would highlight the fact that only Apple will give you a case with a dust and splash proof rating, no matter which of the 2 models you end up buying. There are the Samsung Buds, which are fully waterproof, and that can come in handy in the long run, so some of you might prefer that over what you can get with the AirPods. And the rest is there on the screen. As far as their fit, I did not have issues with using any of the earbuds for running with the exception of the AirPods 4. The lack of ear tips simply makes these buds unstable in my ears, and other than sitting behind the desk, I cannot really use them for anything else at all. Running is completely off the table, as I can barely make them work during a casual walk outside, and if I'm not careful enough, I can easily knock them out of my ears by simply using the controls. I know that most people love this semi-in-ear design, as theoretically it can give you better comfort and maybe a touch more of that situational awareness, but having to worry about losing your €200 earbuds all the time is not the type of excitement I want in my life right now. So as far as fit and comfort are concerned, the AirPods 4 finishes last in my rankings. But to sort of bookend this category, the AirPods Pro 2 gets a huge thumbs up from me, as these buds fit my ear canals perfectly, causing no issues in the long run whatsoever. So a secure fit and excellent comfort is what I get from the more expensive Apple Buds. And practically the same can be said about the Samsung and the beyerdynamic buds, so these are both a very close second. If I prioritize absolute comfort over a tight fit, then the OnePlus Buds are third and the Earfuns are in P4, as the Buds Pro 3 are very comfy but also a bit loose, while the Air Pro 4's fit is tight but maybe a touch less comfortable. Soundcore is fifth due to the large-ish size of the buds, which makes them sit securely in my ears, but it can also cause some pressure inside my ear canals after about an hour of use. And an interesting fact is that out of the 6 earbuds that actually come with silicone ear tips, the top 4 uses oval-shaped tips, while the last 2 in my rankings have round-shaped tips. And again, the only one without any ear tips, the AirPods 4, is an absolute no-go for me, so it finishes last. But as long as you are okay with their fit and you also want the tiniest, most compact battery case to carry around in your pocket, then the AirPods 4 must be at the top of your list. It has a built-in speaker, so you can ping it using the Find My feature in iOS, and it supports wireless charging too. But the AirPods Pro 2 case adds some extras, such as the U1 chip for precision finding, MagSafe compatibility and the lanyard loop. And it's still the second most compact of the group, so on my list, the Pro 2 takes the first spot. And since we talk about extra features in a battery case, I have to mention the screen and the touch bar on the Soundcore, which allows you to change things such as ambient modes or spatial audio from the case itself. There is also the sliding opening mechanism on the lid, which makes it the only case that does not use a more traditional hinge. Speaking of which, all the other 6 cases have a solidly built, springy hinge with no flapping action, giving you easy access to the earbuds. But while I feel like that Apple found the perfect balance between features and portability with the AirPods Pro 2 case, the Liberty 4 Pro case is quite a bit more chunky. And if I'm completely honest, I don't really see myself using that touch bar on the regular, but I can see myself literally in that reflection on that mirror-like lid more often than I would like to, so overall I would rank the Liberty 4 Pro case the last. The Samsung case with its see-through lid and its small overall footprint finishes on the podium behind the 2 Apple cases, followed by beyerdynamic, OnePlus and Earfun in that order. The OnePlus case has a nicely textured coating, which gives you a solid grip, but I prefer using the beyerdynamic case myself, even though the two are practically the same size. The Earfun case is a bit thicker than the others, but it still has a smaller footprint than the Soundcore case, so it's ranked accordingly. As far as charging and battery life, all 7 cases support the Qi wireless charging standard and all come with a USB Type-C port. And according to the official data I found on the manufacturer's websites, the Earfun Air Pro 4 will provide you with the longest playtime, both in terms of single charge and total, with the case. Second is Soundcore, and the rest of the bunch is very similar across the board, with the AirPods 4 offering the shortest battery times overall. Please note that depending on the codecs you use and what features are enabled, these numbers can greatly vary. And note number 2 is that the AirPods Pro 2 has no ANC off mode, so that's why no such data is available. Next, let's talk about the wireless features. All 7 buds can deliver the basics, which is support for the SBC and the AAC audio codecs, dual device connection and single bud mode. But with the exception of beyerdynamic, each manufacturer added a few extras to their own list of wireless features. And surprisingly enough, it's Earfun who took it to the most extreme with the Air Pro 4, which are by far the least expensive earbuds in this test. So here we get the aptX Adaptive, the aptX Lossless and the AirDec audio codecs, LE Audio with LC3 and Auracast support, Google Fast Pair, a low latency mode in the Earfun Audio app, and also a list of previously connected devices where we can switch manually between all the available sources. The Liberty 4 Pro also supports Google Fast Pair, it comes with the LDAC codec and the option to manually switch between devices in the Soundcore app. Multipoint remains available even with the LDAC codec enabled, as the only feature which will refuse to work with LDAC is spatial audio for some reason. On the Earfun buds, LDAC will not work together with multipoint, but we still have aptX as a less picky or demanding option. And the LHDC codec on the OnePlus Buds Pro 3 will also get along with multipoint nicely. The limitation here is that while we get a list of connected devices, we cannot switch between them manually and we can only see the 2 which are actually connected to the buds at any given time, so no history of devices of any sorts there. But in my view, it's still better to have a multi-device connection feature which works well across all platforms than having one that is limited for use within a given ecosystem. And what I mean by that is that both Apple and Samsung will allow their respective earbuds to connect to multiple devices within their own bubble only. With the AirPods, it means practically any Mac, iPhone or iPad, while with the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro, it means Samsung Galaxy devices. Samsung will also block some other features, such as the SSC codec or Galaxy AI in a similar fashion, but as long as you are a Samsung phone user, the options are there. And for Apple users, the seamless switching between your devices and audio sharing will also be available, as the 2 AirPods are practically the same in terms of their wireless capabilities, thanks to having the same H2 chip on board. So if I had to rank their wireless capabilities, it would look something like this. Earfun is first, Soundcore is second, OnePlus is third and beyerdynamic is fourth, mostly due to their platform-agnostic multipoint. The AirPods Pro 2 is next along with the AirPods 4, while Samsung finishes last here as I could not even test most of its features. That said, if I had a Galaxy phone, I would probably rank them second or third thanks to all the extras that are on offer within that Samsung bubble. And now let me give you a few audio samples, starting with the one from the built-in microphones on the Apple AirPods 4. So this is the phone call quality you can expect from these buds in a quiet room. Next up is the AirPods Pro 2. So this is the audio quality you can expect from the built-in mics on the more expensive Apple Buds when you happen to make a phone call in a quiet room. Moving on to the beyerdynamic AMIRON 100, this is the phone call quality you can expect from the built-in mics on these earbuds in a quiet room. On to our next audio sample, it's coming from the built-in mics on the Earfun Air Pro 4, so this is the phone call quality you can get from these earbuds in a quiet room. Next up is the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, so this is the audio quality you can expect from these earbuds when making a phone call in a quiet environment. On to our next audio sample, this is the phone call quality you can expect from the built-in microphones on the Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro in a quiet room. And our last indoor audio sample is coming from the built-in mics on the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro, so this is the phone call quality you can get from these buds in a quiet room. Now let's step outside and see how each of the buds can handle some wind and traffic noise. So this is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the Apple AirPods 4 outside with some traffic noise in the background. And this is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the Apple AirPods Pro 2 outside with some traffic noise in the background. This is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the beyerdynamic AMIRON 100 outside with some traffic noise in the background. This is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the Earfun Air Pro 4 outside with some traffic noise in the background. This is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the OnePlus Buds Pro 3 outside with some traffic noise in the background. This is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro outside with some traffic noise in the background. This is an audio quality test of the built-in microphones on the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro outside with some traffic noise in the background. Now, onto the controls. This is an interesting category. With the latest Gen non-Pro AirPods, we got these force touch panels where you have to pinch the stem to control media playback and manage phone calls. The one major difference between the AirPods 4 and the Pro 2 is that the Pro offers you a slide up and down action for volume control. But you do not have volume controls on the $200 AirPods 4 with ANC. And you cannot really do anything about it in the settings either, since you only get to customize the functionality of the press and hold action, and that controls your ambient modes. And it makes the AirPods 4 the only one without volume controls in this test. Sure, you can always use Siri or even your Apple Watch to change volume on your AirPods, but that requires you to have either an iPhone or an Apple Watch. That financial disaster aside, the pinch controls work okay on the AirPods 4, as long as I use an extra finger to stabilize the buds in my ears. If I use only two fingers, as I usually would, then even the slightest pressure or tap can knock the buds out of place. Not necessarily a deal breaker in itself, but there is a learning curve and some of you might not even have this issue at all. The AirPods Pro 2 is a completely different story, however, as the pinch controls work without a hiccup, volume controls included. Since the latest firmware update, we got motion controls on both Apple Buds, which means that you can accept or reject phone calls by simply nodding or shaking your head. And besides the Apple Buds, there are another three that come with pinch controls: the Liberty 4 Pro, the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, and the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. I personally don't like the fact that the touch panel is at the back of those angled stems on the Samsung Buds, as it makes it less comfortable to use the controls, but it's something you can get used to. And to be fair, the simple voice commands work well with media playback. Second best is the Soundcore with its well-tuned force touch panels and practically limitless customization in the app. And while the settings do not give you that many options for remapping the functionality of the force touch panels on the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, the way they work is pretty much on par with that of the AirPods Pro 2. And of course, all three non-Apple Buds with pinch controls will give you the sliding up and down volume controls as well. Earfun and beyerdynamic opted for regular touch-sensitive panels, which register all sorts of tapping actions promptly and precisely. Both can be remapped in their respective app, but Earfun gives you more freedom as to which tapping action can do what. But even if these touchpads work well, pinch controls are preferable and more reliable across different weather conditions and use cases. On top of the basic controls, the Liberty 4 Pro, the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro, and both Apple Buds can do the trick of pulling down the volume and switching to ambient mode automatically whenever you start talking to someone. It's called Easy Chat by Soundcore, it is known as conversation awareness on the Apple side of things, and Samsung decided to go with auto switch to ambient sound. And with the Samsung Buds, the switch can also happen when a siren is detected, so it's actually a great feature as far as situational awareness or road safety is concerned. All 7 buds come with in-ear sensors for automatic play and pause, but there is one standout feature you only get from Soundcore. And that's again the touch bar on the Liberty 4 Pro's case. It gives you access to certain settings and options as to what and how you can control, including a remote control for taking photos with your phone. And while the touch bar itself is not always that easy to use, the option is there nonetheless. All that considered, my favorites are the AirPods Pro 2 and the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, but maybe I would rank the Apple Buds second only due to the fact that the OnePlus app allows you to tailor the controls on both iOS and Android, while outside the Apple bubble you are stuck with whatever settings you have on the AirPods Pro 2. Not that you can change that much in iOS either. A close third is Soundcore with its touch bar, then comes Samsung with its voice commands, followed by Earfun and beyerdynamic, with the AirPods 4 finishing last. No volume controls is no bueno. Next, let's see what other features the companion apps have to offer. Well, it's easy with the Apple Buds as there is no such thing as a separate app. All settings and options are integrated into iOS. And the two buds share most of their features in common, such as custom controls, conversation awareness, personalized volume, adaptive audio, automatic ear detection, spatial audio head gestures, or Find My. What the Pro 2 brings to the table is a hearing test along with a hearing aid feature and an ear tip fit test, which is missing from the AirPods 4 for obvious reasons. But even if this list of options is extensive in both cases, none of these are available on Android due to the lack of a compatible app. Samsung, in a sense, is even worse, as the Galaxy Wearable app is only available on Android, but some features, such as 360 audio or multipoint, are limited to be used with certain compatible Galaxy devices. What we other Android users are left with is some ambient modes, EQ settings, an ear tip fit test, Find My Earbuds, in-ear detection, and believe it or not, a next stretch reminder. And now step into the real app support territory, where you can get an app for both Android and iOS with a similar, if not identical, feature set. And for starters, there is the beyerdynamic app with its clean and handsome UI, which is my personal favorite as far as looks and ease of use. But on the feature front, it's a bit lacking. We get some EQ settings, including presets and the 5-band manual option, then there are the ANC modes, a voice assistant switch, custom controls, an autoplay pause switch, and a low latency switch. The most interesting one here is the voice prompts menu, which allows for an almost overwhelmingly high level of customization as to what kinds of voice prompts we want to use. I'm only wondering if they could have used the same resources to give us more options, such as a dual device connection list or more flexibility in setting up the different ambient modes. And this is something the Hey Melody app from OnePlus can offer. We get a few different ANC settings from high to low and auto, and there is a dual device connection list as well. What we also get is an EQ with presets and custom settings, a hearing test called Golden Sound, and a spatial audio menu. Other than these audio-related settings, we get a game mode switch, an in-ear detection switch, an ear tip fit test, Find My Earbuds, and on a separate tab we can find the custom controls as well. The Soundcore app can do more or less the same, but for example it offers more spatial audio modes, better, more flexible custom controls, and the dual connections menu where we can switch between our source devices manually. Plus there are the settings for the touch bar on the case, we get an auto power off timer, easy chat and safe volume, which can limit our exposure to high volume levels, protecting our hearing in the long run. And then I have not even mentioned the Hear ID hearing test or the preference tests, where we can fine-tune the sound of the Liberty 4 Pro by going through a couple of A/B comparisons of different sounds. So overall I would say the Soundcore app wins, but then there is the Earfun Audio app with its extensive selection of audio codec settings, including aptX, LDAC and LE audio. Of course, we can find a few ambient modes, a game mode switch, an autoplay pause switch, an equalizer, custom controls, dual connection menu, and find headphones as well. So for those who want to geek out on codecs and different connection settings, the Earfun Audio app does offer an advantage, but overall it's a win for Soundcore simply because you will lose most of those extra codec options as long as you want to use your Air Pro 4 or Liberty 4 Pro with an iPhone. Now, onto the active noise cancellation. The only reason I bought the more expensive AirPods 4 for this test was to see if having ANC on a semi-in-ear design makes any sense. And while these buds actually finished last in this comparison, I have to say that I was surprised as to how well they performed, especially at blocking random higher pitch noises. Lower frequency hums and rumbles proved to be more problematic, and again, my personal experience is that the minute I moved or tugged or even took a deeper breath, the buds moved out of the one perfectly aligned position and then the ANC was all gone. But that's just me, and your mileage might vary. Next up on my list is the AMIRON 100, which handled low-pitch noises much better, but it had issues with blocking out higher frequencies. Earfun is another step up, especially at those critical, more random higher frequencies. OnePlus turns the ANC up a notch by taming more hums and rumbles. Its performance is similar to that of both the Soundcore and the Samsung, but it feels a touch less consistent, and it also takes a bit more time for the ANC to actually kick in whenever you change the settings. The lack of consistency of ANC here can partly be blamed on the somewhat loose fit of the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, and this is where the Galaxy and the Liberty Buds can gain an advantage. Both earbuds are excellent at taming low-pitch noises, but where the AirPods Pro 2 is hard to beat is handling the higher end of the frequency range, which makes them the winner of my ANC tests. When it comes to hear-through or ambient mode, the two Apple Buds finish up top thanks to their natural sounding and clean transparency mode. I could hardly tell the two apart. Maybe the AirPods 4 have a tad less of a hiss, but that's hardly noticeable in everyday use. More hiss and more intense highs is what we get from the Samsung Buds, which sound less natural, but we get a 1 to 5 scale in the Galaxy Wearable app, so we can play around with the strength of the ambient sound. Earfun offers less of a clarity in third place, while Soundcore is even worse with more white noise in the mix. OnePlus is next with its muffled mid-range, which impacts voice intelligibility, but beyerdynamic is even a bit worse, so it can only take the bottommost spot on this list. As far as wind noise is concerned, overall the AirPods Pro 2 wins, but Earfun can do even better as long as its dedicated wind noise cancelling mode is enabled. But it's only available in ANC mode, and it does negatively impact the overall noise cancelling performance of the Air Pro 4, while the Apple Buds perform better across all other scenarios, including transparency mode. Then come OnePlus, beyerdynamic and Soundcore, which is only interesting because out of these three, it's only the Liberty 4 Pro that has a wind noise cancelling mode, yet it's still not as good as either the Buds Pro 3 or the AMIRON 100 in breezy conditions. Next is the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro, while the AirPods 4 finishes last, as Apple must have cut some corners here and left both our ears and the mics exposed to those whooshing sounds. And finally, let's talk about the sound quality of each of the buds. I tested all of them with both iOS and Android, with the best codec available on each, streaming lossless music from Apple Music. I'm not going to rank the buds here, as sound quality is a very personal thing, but here is what I found. Starting with the AirPods Pro 2 as my reference point, it has a lean and snappy but powerful enough bass, fairly open mids with rich vocals and a neutral tonality across the board. As for the highs, we get decent clarity and a sense of openness, but the top end is rolled off ever so slightly. The treble has a healthy amount of crisp detail, nothing is coarse or harsh, not even at high volume levels, which makes listening to music very enjoyable in the long run. The soundstage is not the widest, but the imaging is precise. And if you want to play around with that imaging, then you have the best chance to get an excellent spatial audio experience with the AirPods Pro 2 thanks to its Dolby Atmos support. Neither the Liberty 4 Pro nor the OnePlus Buds Pro 3 can come even close to how natural the 3D processing sounds on the Apple Buds. And that applies to the AirPods 4 as well, since we get the same H2 chip and the same spatial audio feature with head tracking. And in normal mode, the sound quality of these semi-in-ears are just as impressive. I was surprised to hear that much heft and extension in the lower registers. That said, the sealed design of the Pro 2 still has an advantage when it comes to bass impact. The vocals sound neutral enough, but maybe a touch warmer and less open than on the Pro, but I feel like we get the tiniest bit more of a sparkle up top, which adds an extra layer of excitement and pop to the sound. The imaging and the soundstage is not quite as precise as that of the Pro 2, but probably that slightly diffuse character has something to do with the less than ideal fit in my ears, so you might experience a tighter soundscape along with a tighter fit. Maximum volume is a smidge lower than on the Pros again, but overall I have to say that I really liked the sound of the AirPods 4. What I also like, but mostly during my workouts only, is that warm, punchy and smooth sound of the beyerdynamic AMIRON 100. The bass is definitely elevated here, giving you a substantial kick, but both the mids and especially the highs are kind of turned down a notch, which results in a darkish overall sound character. Imaging is on point, soundstage is average in all of its dimensions, and maximum volume is pretty much the same as on the AirPods Pro 2. The neutral preset in the EQ can tame the bass and boost the mids a little, and for casual music listening I prefer using that setting, even though in this case we lose some of that dynamic and punchy nature of the default sound. And in case not even the AMIRON 100 can deliver enough bass for you, then there is the OnePlus Buds Pro 3 with its extremely hefty and dominant bottom octave. But it comes with a price in terms of a loss in clarity across the mid-range, and vocals especially can sound a bit muddy or chesty to me. We get a similar amount of detail and extension in the treble as on the AirPods Pro 2, and the soundstage is similar again, but the imaging is a bit more diffuse with less of a separation between instruments. The boomy bass along with the dark-ish mids is not my personal favorite tuning, but for example the Dynaudio featured preset in the app opens up the mids while keeping the bass under more control, and that's a sound profile closer to my own taste. But the spatial audio feature could not be further away from what I prefer in music. Head tracking or not, it doesn't sound as good as the same on the Apple Buds. And staying on the topic of bass-heavy sound, there is the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. The lower registers are not quite as loose as on the OnePlus Buds, but we get a very confident and weighty bass. Vocals have more room to breathe here, and the clarity is also noticeably better across the mid-range, with a richer and more neutral sound of instruments. The highs are detailed with good extension and without a sign of harshness. The soundstage is more compressed and closed in than on the AirPods Pro 2, but the imaging is precise. 360 audio is only compatible with other Galaxy devices and Samsung TVs, but since I have neither, I could not test it out. I did, however, test it out on the Liberty 4 Pro. And here we even get that touch bar with access to all the spatial audio related settings, so that should be good, right? Wrong. I mean, the 3D processing is subpar and probably the worst in this group, so I would rather play around with all the other EQ settings in the app to bring out the most from the Soundcore Buds. And in terms of both sound quality, but especially volume, there is a lot to bring out indeed. The Liberty 4 Pros are the loudest and most dynamic sounding of the 7 I'm testing today. As for their overall sonic character, these are closer to the Samsung and the OnePlus due to the bass first and then comes everything else approach, but I found the mids and in fact the whole sound a bit more open. Vocals are rich and detailed, and so are the highs, but at high volumes things can get a bit out of hand up top. But at those high volumes I find the sound pressure pretty much unbearable, while at normal output levels the treble is energetic and detailed with no distortions. The dynamic range is huge, but the soundstage is average, and so is separation with a slightly diffuse center image. And last, the Earfun Air Pro 4 delivers a punchy but controlled bass, which is neither too lean nor it is overpowering at all. Both the Soundcore and the AirPods Pro 2 have more forward and open vocals, but the Air Pro 4 delivers a richer sound with better clarity across the mids than the OnePlus or the Samsung. There is plenty of detail and energy on offer in the higher octaves, but the top end never gets out of control, not even at maximum volume, which is somewhere between the AirPods Pro 2 and the Soundcore. The EQ settings might not be the most sophisticated, and we don't get spatial audio here either, but the default sound of the Earfun Buds is more or less balanced and fairly open, with a bit of a bump in the bass and a slight dip in the mids. Okay, now let me try to wrap this all up quickly. So we got these two Apple Buds, which on one hand are pretty similar to one another in terms of their features, size or battery life, and even their sound quality. On the other hand, they are polar opposites, as while the AirPods Pro 2 is still the best as far as fit, comfort, controls and ANC are concerned, the AirPods 4 failed to pass the fit test in my ears, which impacts my experience with their comfort, the use of controls, and the ANC in a kind of deal-breaking fashion. In fact, after this review I will send them back without hesitation. I'm sorry Sammy in-ear fans, I know you are out there, but there is not much I can do about these finicky ear canals of mine. But to soften the blow on Apple fanatics, the AirPods Pro 2 remains the best overall in my opinion. But there is one major caveat. I'm not an iPhone user anymore, which makes me think twice when it comes to picking up the Apple Buds, even though I use an iPad and a Mac on the daily for my work. As long as you rock an iPhone, of course, by all means the AirPods Pro 2 is the way to go, but if you live outside the Apple bubble, or if you work in an environment where you use a Windows laptop or an Android tablet for example, I do not recommend you to buy any of the AirPods models, as they will not reach their full potential in these mixed scenarios. There are other great options that are so close now, both in terms of features and usability. I would either get the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro for its sound and feature set, or the OnePlus Buds Pro 3 for its comfort and controls, as overall, these two are the closest to what Apple has to offer. Pinch controls, multipoint or spatial audio are all features you can find on both the Apple Buds and on these two. But if money is the driving factor in your decision, then the Earfun Air Pro 4 is impossible to beat. And when it comes to codecs or battery life, it's almost shockingly good too. The beyerdynamic AMIRON 100 is a touch harder to recommend due to its higher price tag, yet lesser specs, but I enjoyed their warm and punchy sound and their extremely good comfort across multiple scenarios during my tests. I also wish that more smartphone apps would look as good as the one from beyerdynamic. And I expect comments from hardcore Samsung users saying that I should get a Galaxy phone to test their earbuds properly, and while they might be right, it's not going to happen for a while, so my apologies, but as things stand today, I can recommend the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro for Samsung aficionados only. And that concludes my review of the 7 stem style design earbuds. If you liked it, then please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And whether you are a Samsung user or not, all your comments are welcome as always. Thanks for watching everyone, hope to see you all in the next one.